All right, everybody, welcome back to the Planet Film Network. Welcome back to another review. So today I'm going to be giving you my solo thoughts on Episode 5 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So right now, if you don't know, TJ was able to actually purchase his first home. So he is busy at work trying to get all of that set up. We'll have more updates for you coming soon, more things that we're working on with that new space and everything. So until then, we're going to have kind of a gap in our live streams, but we wanted to make sure that we were still getting reviews out there and everything so that you can hear our thoughts on all the latest episodes. Make sure, honestly, the best way to do it that we have still been posting on all the time is our TikTok. So make sure you're following us at the official PFN. Go ahead and hit subscribe. We have a lot of stuff coming up on the channel, reviews, reactions, updates, news, everything like that. And then we will, once everything is settled with the new space and all that, we will be returning back to PFN Live every single week. So make sure that you are subscribed for all that and more. But let's go ahead and dive into my thoughts on Episode 5 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So first and foremost, I will say it right off the bat, this episode is, in my opinion, is the best of the season that we've gotten so far. I think for a lot of people, this is where the show really hits its stride of this is what people wanted from this show from the beginning. And this is definitely what I wanted from the show from the beginning. By and large, I have enjoyed all the episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think that some things have dragged here and there. I thought that Episode 3 had some pretty high highs, but also some of it was just pretty so-so. Episode 4, I thought also I really loved everything with Fortress Inquisitorius. I thought that all of that was fantastic. All the reveals in there, some of the action, Obi-Wan slowly coming back to form. But then you had some of the Leia and Reva stuff didn't really hit for me. Then going all the way back to even like Episode 2 as well, I have always been one of those people that I am not, they're breaking canon or whatever. But I did address on our last review that we did for Episode 4, I did say that I was becoming worried or concerned or questioning some of the canon elements in this. This episode answered everything. I shouldn't have doubted. I was holding out hope that I was like, you know what? All right, it's you know, if they're going in a different direction or something, or if you know, kind of like Oren Free Ta in season 1 of Bad Batch. Maybe we're just to assume the Grand Inquisitor is still alive, that type of thing. You know, it's just something that if you know, you know. If you don't, it still works within the series that, you know, he died and Reva took over. But we know that, you know, 10 years later or 6 years later, you know, we know the Grand Inquisitor is still alive. And this episode, even on top of that, this episode was so good in that respect, specifically about the Grand Inquisitor, because when he says, you know, kneel and makes her Grand Inquisitor and all this stuff, I was like, wow, okay, all right, I guess he's, I don't know, maybe he's just chilling over on Dayu, you know, waiting for somebody to come patch up one of his stomachs. And then the switcheroo at the end, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. The fact that, you know, and that's why it's so important to remember not to jump to conclusions on a show like this, because especially this show, man, because it's really like a movie. You know, we know that it was a movie, and then it got kind of transitioned, kind of co-opted into a series. So especially with this one, there's going to be stuff that maybe you think is dropped, but then it's picked up later on. And I totally don't doubt, I don't, you know, fault people for thinking, well, it's been, all right, maybe it'll be picked up, but, you know, it's been 3 or so weeks. When's it going to get picked up? You know, I totally don't fault people for that. But I loved when it came all the way back around, the fact that Vader was basically just toying with Reva the entire season. Everything we've seen, you know, between, you know, you were warned what failure would bring, you know, choking her up there, and then, letting her down, and people were like, well, why would he do that? And he was playing the long game with her. He was saying the whole time, yeah, I'm going to use her to get Kenobi, but she's getting taken out too. She's a freaking, whatever. He even calls her in this youngling. Did you think I didn't see it, youngling? Like who you were. I thought that was a great moment. Everything with Vader in this was fantastic. Real like Force Unleashed, Battlefront, Lords of the Sith, power being on display when he just walks right into that hangar and just rips the ship out of the sky. And I did watch the episode twice through. It is very, very early right now, just but I did watch the episode twice through, A, because it was that good, and B, just I like to watch twice through just to make sure I don't miss anything, make sure I catch everything. First time I was like, and I still do have a question about it, but you could say, well, autopilot or droid or whatever. If the first ship was empty, who was flying it? That was my whole thing. I thought maybe the reveal was going to be that Kenobi stayed behind, that he stayed behind, and I thought that we were just, boom, end of the episode right there, Reva's dead, and they're just gonna start fighting right now. I thought that Obi-Wan was gonna be piloting that ship, so that was a nice little surprise that he made it out, and which makes sense because he wouldn't leave Leia, as much as now he does trust Roken and like Haja and everything. It does make sense. He wouldn't leave Leia at this point, not after everything he's been through to kind of get back to her. So that's totally fine. But I was like, where was the other ship? And then on the second watch, it's definitely like, I don't know if it's under a tarp or if it's just like covered in dirt and dust or something, but you could definitely see that there is another ship behind the one that Vader is pulling down. It's just very faint and kind of in the background. But it worked because I was like, oh shit. I thought that he was just going to kill everybody. And then I was like, clearly this episode proved that, Disney and Disney Plus is not beyond Vader, being allowed to go full Vader. We're not maybe not necessarily seeing Rogue One hallway of lightsabering, just slicing people in half, cutting people up like that. But we are definitely seeing, a lot of killing and everything. And we did see, he went darker. They went darker in this episode with actually showing the younglings being killed on Order 66. Even more so than we saw in Revenge of the Sith. Because in Revenge of the Sith, we just get the, what are we going to do? And then the lightsaber ignition, which I thought, was great. Seeing all that in this, seeing young Anakin in Order 66, I thought was fantastic. Obviously, getting the confirmation of Reva being that young Padawan, that youngling that we saw in the very beginning of the show, which I think a lot of people assumed, which is fine. It's fine to be able to go, that I bet you that's going to be that. It doesn't mean that the show is weak or has weak writing. It just means there are some things that, are purposefully set up so that the audience can kind of figure it in. The show literally opens with coming over the shoulder of a young, black girl youngling with long black hair, it wouldn't be much of a jump to say, oh, is that maybe the younger version of one of the main characters of this show? So, the fact that was revealed to be the case, I thought just worked for me. I thought that was fine. Speaking of the Order 66 and the flashbacks, it was incredible. I'll go one only negative that I have is I would have preferred, and this is just my personal preference, I would have preferred a more meaningful conversation. But that's just my wishful thinking that I wanted something like in that scrap Clone Wars arc when they're when Obi-Wan and Anakin are camping out basically, and they're having that discussion about Ahsoka and what the Jedi Order means and stuff like that, or even something like in season 5 of Clone Wars when Obi-Wan's kind of telling him without telling him, you got to keep it in line with Padme. You can't let your emotions. I almost wanted one of those like deeper conversations, but what we did get, I thought, served this story even better than anything like that, because not only is it a cool moment between Anakin and Obi-Wan pre-Attack of the Clones, but also it informs what's happening in the present day. The last line of the flashbacks is, until you get over that, you'll always be the Padawan. And I think that informs that next week, Anakin, Vader, he is still not over that. So I feel like this flashback sets up when I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master, because I think we're maybe going to see a similar conversation of Obi-Wan saying, you still haven't mastered this. You are still so dead set on vengeance. Look at all these people that have slipped through your fingers just because you want to go after me. And I think that Anakin and Vader is going to realize, he's right. And then I think Obi-Wan's going to slip through his fingers again. He has to. And I like that it's kind of informs that line that, of course, is Vader still a Padawan? No, obviously not. He's one of the most powerful Force users in the galaxy, one of the most powerful men, Sith Lords, Jedi, whatever you want to call them. But symbolically, in their relationship, in his life, he is still trying to prove himself. And I love that. And that hit on things that the novel Brotherhood hit on, Clone Wars hit on, Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith both hit on. One of my favorite moments in this episode is when Obi-Wan says that to him. He says, your need for victory blinds you. Until you can get over that, you will still be the Padawan. And as soon as he says that sentence, a big smile cracks over Obi-Wan's face. Like, he's like, to Obi-Wan, that sentence is, you're getting there, man. You'll get there one. It's fine. Don't rush it. But this is what you have to be mindful of. And then Obi-Wan walks past Anakin, and you see Anakin's face takes that line as, Obi-Wan is always criticizing me. Obi-Wan never sees my full potential. All this stuff. And I thought that was such a beautiful moment right in there, that you see kind of the whole relationship that is set up in Attack of the Clones, where, we're about to see that Anakin is super, super frustrated with what he perceives Obi-Wan thinking of him. And I thought that it was great that they hit on that in this episode. Some other great things, like I said, the Grand Inquisitor reveal, I'm really starting to come around to, and not even come around to. I really enjoyed Rupert Friend's interpretation of the Grand Inquisitor, so much so that these last few episodes, I was like, I kind of miss him. I was like, he kind of was a cool presence. I like the voice that he's given him and stuff. Would I have loved to see Jason Isaacs come back? Sure. But, I think Rupert Friend's doing a fantastic job. And also, the Grand Inquisitor would be a lot younger at this point. So, I mean, granted, you could do prosthetics and all that stuff. But I think he's nailing it. And so I was really happy to see him come back. And I love the line that he had in this where he goes, vengeance... vengeance is really good for, he says so. I forget exactly what he says, but something along the lines of, vengeance does wonders for keeping you alive, or something like that. Just to tell her, first of all, she didn't even do her research, because Powans have 2 stomachs, so she basically stabbed him in a backup organ, which I think was funny that Rupert Friend even said as much on, I think it was Jimmy Kimmel or something. But just that he said, why do you think I would let myself die when you gave me the perfect ammunition to seek vengeance on you? I thought that was fantastic. I love that he called her Grand Inquisitor, because to them it's just a joke. It's just like, wow, we played her so well. It's not even funny. To him, he's just like, my position was never questioned. And I like that, because in the comics and everything, him and Vader do kind of have that relationship of, sure, does the Grand Inquisitor one day want to get rid of Vader? Does he think that he could do a better job than Vader? Of course, that's the whole point of Sith and Inquisitors and all that stuff. But I think, when they work together well. And I think that is what we saw again in this episode. And I saw somebody say, like, why do you think they left the Grand Inquisitor behind on Daiyu or something? I don't think they did. I think they got him right away. I think Vader's known. I don't think that this was, I saw somebody saying, like, do you think this was something that, the Grand Inquisitor came back and then hatched the plan with Vader or whatever? I think that they went and recovered his body immediately and just kept the whole thing hidden from the third sister. And I loved that, because I prefer this way more than, the end of the episode or the end of the season. You go to a hospital bed and it's the Grand Inquisitor and it, his little pulse beeps and it goes dun dun dun. I prefer that it's just, no, he wasn't even healing. He's fully healed up. They were just biding their time, waiting for the right moment to come forward and all that stuff. I thought that was fantastic. Again, this whole episode was great. Last thing I want to talk about that I haven't really talked about was Tala'S Sacrifice. There's some things, again, in this episode that I'm like, logistically, all right, well, what was really the point of Tala'S Sacrifice if, she didn't really, she sets off the thermal detonator, and I get it. The point is she gives just enough time to save Obi-Wan, to send Reva and the stormtroopers in the other direction, to send them into a retreat. But because they were just stormtroopers around Reva, it's like we don't really see how many stormtroopers are taken out. Reva has no damage to her whatsoever. So I just am left with the thought of, like, did she really have to die that way? But there's so many times that it's in Star Wars that it's like, well, that person really didn't have to die like that. Even look at Obi-Wan. He didn't have to become one with the Force. He chose to, because he said, all right, this is the moment. I can do more from beyond. I can do more, through the Force with Yoda, with everybody. I am ready, and I feel like Tala kind of had that moment too, where it's, I am ready. I am ready to make this sacrifice because the fight is more important. And I really liked that. I really, really liked her death. And I really liked how it affected Obi-Wan. Yeah, I really, really liked that moment. And Indira Varma, it was fantastic in this role. I hope she's not showing up in Andor anymore, I'll tell you that much. But maybe something else. Maybe we could get her in Bad Batch, because, Bad Batch, they're saying it's going to be a time jump. So you figure Bad Batch Season 2 at this point is probably only set maybe 7 or 8 years before the events of Kenobi. So we're getting closer to those two shows lining up, or anything else in the future. I mean, I'm sure we're going to get a lot of live-action storytelling between Episode 3 and 4. I can just feel that there's a 20-year gap there that they can just cover, any story they want to. And I would love to see Tala come back. But yeah, so I really, really enjoyed this episode. And then the end with Reva finding Bail's message, which as soon as Bail said that, I went, what are you doing, man? Why are you saying this? I get that it's a secure, closed channel with you and Obi-Wan. But if you think that Obi-Wan might be dead, or you think that Obi-Wan might not be safe, why would you say Owen? Why would you say protect the boy, Tatooine? Like, and I get it, it's because he has to for the story. But, I was just like, that was kind of a dumb moment. But I'm interested to see what it's going to lead to, because what does that mean? Is Reva going to go and now try to take out Luke? Is it going to be, are we going to get the finale on Tatooine? Vader can't know about Luke, so how is this all going to kind of pan out? I think it'll be interesting to see. I hope that Vader's not done. They definitely need to fight one more time. But yeah, I mean, overall, I loved this episode. I think this is, again, to circle back to my original comments, I think this is easily the best the best episode of Kenobi so far. It's really tied up a lot of loose ends that I had, big issues that other people had. I think it did a lot to service the story and inform the previous episodes. I think this episode did a ton of heavy lifting. And whether you think, well, should one episode really have to do a ton of heavy lifting? Shouldn't some of the information come throughout the season? That's totally fine. You know, you could say anything you want about TV or movies or anything. It's all subjective. It just depends on how you liked it, how you liked the reveals, how you liked the information being delivered to you. For me, it worked for me. I would have liked some of the answers earlier on, maybe, but for me, it worked. I think it really worked in this episode. We got a nice 40-minute episode, 40-ish minute episode this week, hoping for, maybe an hour worth next week. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Other than that, guys, I really, really loved this episode. Stay tuned later on today on the channel. I'm going to have my thoughts for episode 2 of Ms. Marvel up on the channel. And as well, if I have time, any sort of trailer reactions. And I will also have my review of Jurassic World Dominion. I'm finally going to see it right after this, actually. So yeah, stay tuned. We're going to have those 3 videos at least going up on the channel. And either today or tomorrow we might have Brandon and TJ do a quick stream if they're available to, or a quick video about episode 5 of Kenobi to get their thoughts as well. But until then, guys, make sure to go ahead and hit subscribe. We're trying to get to 500. That unlocks the community tab, means that we can engage with you guys a lot more. That's all we're trying to do here. We're trying to engage, build a big community here of Star Wars fans, film fans, TV fans, entertainment fans, whatever. And make sure to go follow us at the official PFN on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok especially. But other than that, guys, huge win for me for episode 5 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I absolutely loved it. So yeah, until then, we'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy.